Today on Inquirer, Supreme Court releases 2022 bar examination results. University of the Philippines graduate tops exams. Philippine National Police's Criminal Investigation and Detection Group conducts manhunt for former Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag and his aide Ricardo Zulueta. China urges Philippines to oppose Taiwan independence. And the Philippine ambassador to the United States defends President Bongbong Marcos's foreign trips. Good evening. The Supreme Court has released the results of the 2022 bar examination. Here's our report. Amid the unpredictable weather, the 2022 bar examinees and their families patiently waited outside the Supreme Court in Manila for the results. For them, this might just be one of the most important, if not the most important days of their lives this year. Once the results were announced, emotions started streaming.
First week ko po to at masaya po ako kasi talagang pumunta ako dito kasi gusto ko ako una makita ng result. Ayoko mag-abang sa bahay para i-confront ko agad yung ano ba talaga ang meron sa araw na to. At sa awa ng mahal na ko, sa Mama Mary, nandito na po ngayon. Binigay niya po yung pangako niya. Basta magsikap, magtyaga, lahat po yun. May kapalit po lahat yun. May kapalit po yun na biyaya. Sobrang saya, tsaka relief talaga. Sobrang thankful ka lang sa mga parents ko kasi sila yung isang gumat na nito ko ngayon. And without them, I wouldn't be here. So, I'm just thankful right now.
A total of 3,992 out of 9,183 or 43.4% of examinees passed the 2022 bar examination. The 2022 bar examination is the second one conducted under the shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic. Czar Matthew Gerard Torres Dayday from the University of the Philippines topped the exam with a rating of 88.80%.
I mostly prepared really by studying every day. I think I stuck to my calendar. I made sure that when I'm studying, like before I started really preparing or studying for the bar exams, I made sure to prepare a calendar first, like lay out by what time or by what date I should have finished with this subject and started with this subject and so on. And mostly, I think what helped for me was really studying with my friends. I have this group of 3 friends that I really study with every night.
The top 5 examinees with the highest scores all came from the University of the Philippines. Associate Justice Alfredo Benjamin Caguiwa says oath-taking and roll signing of successful examinees would be on May 2, 2023. Earlier today, we were able to speak with Czar Matthew Dayday, who topped the 2022 bar examinations. He shared with us some tips and advice for aspiring lawyers. Here's our interview.
Joining me this afternoon is the top-notcher, no less than the top-notcher of the 2022 bar examination, Czar Matthew Dayday. Matthew, how are you doing? How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling really good. Yeah, I think it's still a bit of a shock at this point.
Mm-hmm. I guess the question is, how did you prepare for this examination?
Well, I mostly prepared really by studying every day. I think I stuck to my calendar. I made sure that when I'm studying, like before I started really preparing or studying for the bar exams, I made sure to prepare a calendar first, like lay out by what time or by what date I should have finished with this subject and started with this subject and so on. And mostly, I think what helped for me was really studying with my friends. I have this group of 3 friends that I really study with every night. So what we would do is maybe around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. we would go on Zoom together, and then we would just study as a group, so that at least it feels like we have people who would keep us accountable for that.
Matthew, were you expecting these results really? Because of course, a lot of people right now, a lot of the bar exam takers are just wishing for them to just pass. Probably that's the wish or the prayer of a lot of takers.
Yeah.
But you also top the exam. So were you expecting these results to be like this?
No, definitely not. I think I'm also one of those people who is really praying or wishing just to pass the exam. To me, I think as long as I pass the exam, that's okay. Because in the end, naman, it's not your clients as a lawyer or your employers as a lawyer wouldn't really ask, oh, did you top the bar, or oh, what was your ranking in the bar. To me, it's all, once you pass the bar, you're all equal as lawyers. So I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't really wishing or hoping for these results, but yeah, I just wanted to pass, honestly.
Matthew, may we talk about your, kumbaga, yung sinasabi na lawyer origin stories? Has it always been your dream, or has it always been, have you always seen yourself as a lawyer even when you were younger?
I think yes. I felt that I wanted to become a lawyer when I was back in high school. I think, when I was young, there were all these TV shows and movies showing that lawyers were really cool people who would talk in courts or solve problems and stuff like that. And I felt like, oh, I wanted to be someone like that someday. But of course, when I grew older, I realized that being a lawyer isn't really like what they show on TV or on movies. But even then, I still felt like I wanted to be a lawyer. I still felt like being a lawyer would be something that would help me solve other people's problems and contribute to making the society better.
So that's very interesting that you said that now. So which brings me to my next question. So what's next for you? So we know that there will be an oath taking, but after that, how are you going to? What lawyer would you like to be once you're out there?
Well, for now, I'm currently employed in a law firm, and I think I would continue with my employment. But I think for now, what I want to be is someone who is open to learning, to growing as a lawyer. Because even if we've already passed law school, we already graduated, took the bar, passed the bar, I think based on my limited experience working, the practice or the industry itself is really different from law school. So what I want to be now is to be that kind of lawyer who can really help my clients by making sure that I'm open to all kinds of work, to all kinds of experiences. I won't say no to anything that I think, parang that seems a bit basic or simple, but to treat all of these experiences, all of these tasks as something that will help me grow as a better lawyer, so that eventually I will be a lawyer who was trained properly, who has a multitude of experiences, which would allow me to better solve problems and my clients.
Matthew, we might have young viewers who are watching this interview. They might be thinking right now, I want to be a lawyer someday. Also, there are lawyers or aspiring lawyers who will also take this exam in the coming years. So what advice would you give them?
I think for me, the primary point of advice that I would give to aspiring lawyers or to lawyers who will be taking the bar exam is really to it's really to trust the process. Because to me, I am a firm believer that we are essentially what we repeatedly do. So, all of the small things that you do every day gradually accumulate. And the results are simply what happens because of the things you do every day. So I would advise these aspiring lawyers or these young people to really work hard, to be open to different experiences, to have that curiosity and that eagerness to learn, to know, and to always ask questions, to always be inquisitive. Because to me, being a lawyer means that you're always going to be asking questions, you're always going to be learning. So, yeah, I think the best advice I could give is to always be open to learning and growing as a person, because that's really how you become the best version of yourself.
That's a very good advice. Always ask questions and always be open to learning. So, from the INQUIRER.net family, we would like to congratulate you. We're looking forward to what's next for you, Matthew, and we would like to congratulate, of course, everyone who passed the 2022 bar examinations. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you very much.
President Bongbong Marcos says the National Food Authority should increase the rice buffer stock, which is currently too low. The president says the NFA should increase its buffer stock to last for at least 9 days, adding that the government will also determine if it needs to import rice.
Magpaplano kami kung kailangan mag-import, kung kailangan magparami ng buffer stock sa NFA dahil masyado nang mababa. Yun lang ang nakita namin problema, mababa ang buffer stock ng NFA. Kailangan bumili yung NFA para umabot siya ng at least 9 days na buffer stock.
Marcos, who currently serves as the Agriculture Secretary, notes that NFA needs to buy its buffer stock from local producers, which in turn drives up the price of rice. To avoid this, Marcos says the purchase of rice buffer stock should be staggered. According to the president, the government needs to make sure that the NFA will be able to build up its buffer stocks for now. He adds that the government is exhausting all efforts to control the price of rice so that it would not increase.
Mukha namang maganda naman ang sitwasyon natin, hindi tayo magkukulang sa bigas at tinitignan natin lahat ng paraan upang ang presyo ay makontrol natin at hindi naman masyadong tataas.
China urges the Philippines to, quote, unequivocally oppose Taiwan independence instead of further flaring up tensions by giving troops of the United States more access to local military bases. China's ambassador to the Philippines, Wang Shilian, says the Philippines should stand against the firm sovereignty claim of self-ruled democratic Taiwan, which Beijing sees as the part of its territory awaiting reunification. He also claims that the safety of over 150,000 overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan was being used as an excuse for the recently added locations under the Philippines and the US's Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA. Last week, Malacanang pinned down the location of the 4 new EDCA sites in northern Luzon and Palawan, areas in close proximity to Taiwan and the West Philippine Sea, which Beijing also has claims over. China has repeatedly warned the Philippines against the expansion of its defense pact with Taiwan backer US, saying it would seriously harm the country's interests and threaten regional peace and stability. A former Philippine National Police official tagged in the alleged cover-up of a drug bust reiterates his innocence and claims that there was a lack of due process when he was implicated in the case. Former PNP Deputy Chief for Operations Lieutenant General Benjamin Santos Jr. says that Interior Secretary Benher Abalos had implicated his name relying on CCTV footage without due process or further consultation. Santos was one of the police officials asked to take a leave by Abalos amid the probe on the alleged cover-up in the trade of 990 kilograms worth of shabu seized in October 2022. According to Santos, he arrived at the scene around 6:20 p.m. on October 8, 2022. He says the buy-bust operation was already consummated and that the operating team at the time was only waiting for the prosecutor's arrival to witness the inventory. He also claims that his sole order that night was to catch Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo Jr., who was the police official caught with the illegal drugs. Santos says that he was not informed of Mayo's presence at the scene and insists that he did not see the dismissed officer. He says he had only waited until the prosecutor arrived to take inventory, after which he left. Santos says that while he fully supports Abalos' objective of cleansing the ranks of the PNP, he also believes it should be done with due process.
As public officials, it is our duty to uphold due process and protect the rule of law, as well as to try to put an end to misinformation and disinformation. Otherwise, in our fight against monsters, we risk becoming monsters ourselves.
Next on Inquirer Today, Philippine National Police's Criminal Investigation and Detection Group conducts manhunt for former Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag and his aide Ricardo Zulueta. Philippine Ambassador to the United States defends President Bongbong Marcos's foreign trips. And South Korea is top source of tourists in 2023, according to the Department of Tourism. This is Inquirer Today. We'll be back shortly.
Losing a fur baby may be one of the most painful moments for a fur parent. To ease the grieving process, a toy maker found a way to immortalize the memory of beloved animal friends.
My name is David Tan, and I'm the founder and CEO of Teddy, based here in Pampanga, Philippines.
In 2019, David himself experienced the grief of losing a pet. When his dog Fusion passed away,
The idea of creating plush animal clones actually came when my dog, I used to have a golden retriever, passed away. And after it passed away, I had this thought of, how can I have a remembrance of my pet? I only had pictures. Since I own a plush toy factory, why don't I try making an actual, realistic replica of my dog?
aside from his pet, one of David's motivations in being a toy maker is his newborn.
Plush toys is something that I've always had an interest in, and I have a new baby boy, and that also is an inspiration for me, because I want to make some toys for him.
David's lifelike plush clones are made from various materials. He uses different types of synthetic furs, fabrics, and other accessories to make the replicas come to life.
What we're doing is definitely not taxidermy. We don't deal with the real pet at all in any way. We're just using 100% fur that was made for teddy bears. The main difference is that we're constructing something from materials that are just fabric and accessories, whereas taxidermy, it's more involved with the actual skin of the deceased pet. So for the process of making a plush animal clone, what we do is we first get photos from our customer with a lot of different views, top, front, back, side, and even bottom, underneath the paws. So once our pattern maker sees all those details, he's able to make a paper pattern, and then once he has that pattern finished, he will put that on top of fabric, and then they're going to cut over the pattern, and they're going to cut out all the pieces of the fabric. So now what they do is they sew it into the skin of the clone, and from the skin we make the it's called a frame. What we do is we put it inside the skin, and then after that they will stuff it with the stuffing, and then sew it shut, and then the magic happens at the very end where they do the airbrushing. So they'll have a picture of the pet, and then they'll have the airbrush, and then they're going to start airbrushing all the little details of the clone until it comes to life.
For David, the solace that these plushies bring to pet owners is what pushes him to continue to improve his craft.
There was actually a video I watched where it brought tears to my eyes. It's the dog whisperer in the Philippines, and he made this entire episode about one of his dogs that passed away. And the most touching moment of his vlog was that he brought this, his dog passed away and he brought the clone to his other dogs. And immediately the other dogs started sniffing under his ear and licking under his ear. And what he was saying is that, wow, that's exactly what they used to do when the dog was still alive. So what's amazing about this is that what we created is something that transcends humans. Even animals are convinced that our plush animal clones are real.
The camp of Negros Oriental Representative Arnolfo Teves has asked the Department of Justice to dismiss the illegal possession of firearms, ammunition, and explosives filed against him. Teves, through his lead counsel Ferdinand Topacio, in a motion to dismiss, says the complaint filed by the Philippine National Police should be dismissed for utter lack of merit. The complaint was filed by the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group following the simultaneous implementation of search warrants in the properties owned by the lawmaker. But during the March 14 preliminary investigation, the prosecutor gave the police up to March 29 to submit additional evidence to boost its case against Teves. On March 29, the police submitted a certification stating that the fragmentation hand grenade is in good condition, while one of the firearms is registered under Jose Palo Guimarangan, Teves' a co-respondent in the case. Topacio said despite the opportunity given by the prosecutor, the police, quote, miserably failed to prove the element of possession. Last month, prosecutors dismissed one of the 8 complaints for illegal possession of firearms against Teves. However, he still has 7 more complaints for illegal possession of firearms and explosives before the DOJ. The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group says it is conducting a manhunt operation against former Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag and his Deputy Security Officer Ricardo Zulueta. CIDG Police Brigadier General Romeo Caramata Jr. made the order Thursday after the release of an arrest warrant against Bantag and Zulueta for the death of the alleged middleman in broadcaster Percy Lapid's killing. Karamat also ordered the creation of tracker teams which will focus on the case buildup and operational research to determine the whereabouts of Bantag and Zulueta. Bilibid inmate Cristito Palana Villamor or Juna Villamor, the alleged middleman in Lapid's slay, was identified by confessed gunman Joel Escorial as the person who hired him to kill Lapid. Barely a week after that revelation, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla said Villamor had died. Philippine Ambassador to the United States Jose Manuel Romualdez defends President Bongbong Marcos' string of foreign trips less than a year since assuming the presidency. In a television interview, Romualdez says the president's foreign trips are important, noting that they are the only way to tell the world that we're on business. He recalls witnessing how effective it is when a chief executive travels to other countries, when he joined former presidents Fidel Ramos and Noynoy Aquino during their business trips abroad. A slew of criticisms had been thrown at Marcos for his many foreign travels, but he has since defended himself as he argued that the Philippines would need to introduce itself to potential investors abroad. His 9th and the latest official overseas trip since assuming the presidency was for a 5-day state visit to Japan last February. Marcos is set to fly to Indonesia in May for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN Summit. This after he and First Lady Luisa Araneta Marcos attend the coronation of King Charles in the United Kingdom. South Korea is so far the Philippines' top source of tourists this year, according to the Department of Tourism. Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco says South Korea has overtaken the United States, which led in terms of foreign tourist arrivals to the Philippines in 2022. Frasco reports that as of April 14, the Philippines has over 1.5 million tourist arrivals, with Koreans as the top source market. While she does not mention the current record of tourist arrivals from South Korea this year, Frasco cites DOT data that, quote, show a significant pickup in Korean arrivals since last year. Prior to the pandemic, she says South Korea had always ranked first in visitor arrivals to the Philippines, with almost 2 million arrivals in 2019 alone. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Ann Therese Arceo ng Bandera. Ann?
Hello Neil, at hello sa lahat ng kabandera natin all over the universe. Narito ang latest chika for today. Maha Salvador, babona si Itbulaga, naghahanda para sa nalalapit na kasal. Tuluyan na ngang magpapaalam ang TV host actress na si Maha Salvador sa longest running noontime show na Itbulaga. Nitong Webes, April 13, naglabas ng official statement ang Crown Management Agency na siyang namamahala sa aktres ukol sa pamamahinga nito sa noontime program. Hindi pa naman sigurado kung kailan ang huling paglabas ni Maha sa Itbulaga. Matatanda ang unang inanunsyo sa publiko ni Maha ang nalalapit na pagpapakasal nila ng kanyang fiancé na si Rambo Nunez Ortega noong February sa kanyang naging interview sa Fast Talk with Boy Abunda. Matapos ang announcement ng talent agency ni Maha, ay marami sa mga netizens ang nag-aabang kung tuluyan na rin bang magpapaalam sa Itbulaga ang kanyang kaibigan na si Maine Mendoza. Tulad kasi ni Maha, nakatakda na ring magpakasal si Maine sa kanyang fiancé na si Congressman Arjo Atayde sa darating na Hulyo. Kaya naman abangers ang mga netizens kung ano nga ba ang magiging plano ng dalaga. Anyways, congratulations and best wishes sa inyo, Maha and Rambo! At yan nga ang latest chika for today. Tutok lang sa bandela para sa mas may init na pasabog sa mundo ng show business. Maraming salamat, Neil!
Maraming salamat, Ann. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Catch Inquirer Today live weekdays at 6 p.m. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.